Morning. So, I'm here today to discuss to you how to analyze a case. And I think this is important because most of your requirements and assessments for operations management is or are case studies. So, if you've been a part or if you have been a member of the class in operations management, you notice that there are 5 case studies. So I think it's important for me to discuss how to analyze a case, what are the parts of case analysis, and to show to you an example later on in how to analyze a case. So let's start. So a case study helps students learn by immersing them in a real-world business scenario where they can act as problem solvers and decision makers. So the case presents facts about a particular organization. Students are asked to analyze the case by focusing the most important facts and using this information to determine the opportunities and problems facing the organization. Students are then asked to identify alternative courses of action to deal with the problems they identify. So that's the importance of using a case in the classroom, because in a case study, you are to act as the problem solver and the main decision maker for real life company. Kumbaga, you are to decide what are the possible solutions and give them the assessments or evaluations on the possible pros and cons or advantages and disadvantages of this possible solution. So a case study analysis must not merely summarize the case. It's not just summarizing the entire case and then giving the gist. That's your case study. The main objective of a case study is, or a case analysis is, for you to give possible alternative solutions or alternative courses of actions, and then assess these alternative courses of action, give the pros and the cons, and then draw the appropriate conclusion or conclusions. The case study analysis therefore can be broken down into 5 steps. Number 1 is to identify the most important facts surrounding the case. Second, identify the key issues of the case. And then you are to specify alternative courses of actions, or simply saying give possible options to solve the problem. If you evaluate each course of action is the 4th step. And the 5th step is for you to recommend the best course of action. So let's first go to the first step, which is to identify the most important facts surrounding the case. So how can you do that? What are the necessary steps for you to undertake? Read the case several times to become familiar with the information it contains. Pay attention to the information in any accompanying exhibits or tables or figures. Most cases have these tables, mga exhibits or figures, particularly in the last portion of the case. Many cases scenarios are in real life, present a great deal of detailed information. Some of these facts are more relevant than others for problem identification. One can assume the facts and figures in the case are true but statements, judgments, and or other decisions made by individuals should be questioned. Underline and then list the most important facts and figures that would help you define the central problem or issue. If the key facts and numbers are not available, you can make assumptions. But these assumptions should be reasonable given the situation. The correctness of your conclusions may depend on the assumptions you make. So that's how you identify the most important facts surrounding the case. Let's go to the second step, which is to identify the key issues or issues. Use the facts provided by the case to identify the key issue or issues facing the company you are studying. Many cases present multiple issues or problems. Your task is to identify the most important and separate them from more trivial issues. State the problems or challenges facing the company. You should be able to describe the problem or challenge in 1 or 2 sentences. You should be able to explain how this problem affects the strategy or performance of the organization. You will need to explain why the problem occurred. Does the problem or challenge facing the company comes from a changing environment, or new opportunities, or a declining market share, or inefficient internal or external business processes? In the case of information systems related problems, you need to pay special attention to the role of technology as well as the behavior of the organization and its management. Information systems problems in the business typically present a combination of management, technology, and organizational issues. When identifying the key issue or problem, ask what kind of problem it is. Is it a management problem? Is it a technology problem? Or an organizational problem? Or maybe combination of these? What management, organizational, and technology factors contributed to the problem? To determine if a problem stems from the management factors, consider whether managers are exerting appropriate leadership over the organization and monitoring organizational performance. Consider also the nature of management decision making. Do managers have sufficient information for performing this role, or do they fail to take advantage of the information that is available? To determine if a problem stems from technology factors, on the other hand, examine any issues arising from the organization's information technology, its hardware, software, networks, and telecommunications, and the management of data in databases or traditional files. Consider also whether the appropriate management organizational assets are in place to use this technology effectively. On the other hand, to determine the role of organizational factors, examine any issues arising from the organization's structure, culture, business processes, work groups, divisions among interest groups, relationships with other organizations, as well as the impact of changes in the organization's external environment. For example, changes in government, changes in economic conditions, or actions of competitors, customers, or suppliers. You will have to identify or to decide which of these factors, or maybe a combination of factors, is the most important in explaining why the problem occurred. That is your step number 2. For step number 3, specify your alternative courses of action. List the courses of action or options that company can take to solve its problem or meet the challenges it faces. For information system related problems, do these alternatives require a new information system or modification of the existing system? Are new technologies, business processes, organizational structures, or management behavior required? What changes to organizational processes would be required by each alternative? What management policy would be required to implement this alternative? Remember, there is a difference between what an organization should do and what that organization actually can do. It depends on their resources. Some solutions are too expensive or operationally difficult to implement, and you should avoid solutions that are beyond the organization's resources. Identify the constraints that will limit the solutions available. Is each alternative executable given these constraints? That's why you need step number 4, that is the evaluation of each course of action. So, evaluate each alternative using the facts and issues you identified earlier, given the conditions and information available. Identify the cost and the benefits of each alternative. Ask yourself, what would be the likely outcome of this course of action? State your risk, the disadvantages, as well as the rewards or advantages associated with each course of action. Is your recommendation feasible from a technical, operational, and financial standpoint? Be sure to state any assumptions on which you have based your decision. So, that's how you evaluate each course of action. To summarize, you have to list down the pros and the cons and the disadvantages and the advantages of each alternative course of action. After that, you're ready to recommend the best course of action. State your choice for the best course of action and provide a detailed explanation of why you made the selection. You may also want to provide an explanation of why other alternatives were not selected, or simply saying why they are not feasible. Your final recommendation should flow logically from the rest of your case analysis and should clearly specify what assumptions were used to shape your conclusion. There is often no single right answer. Let me emphasize, there is no often single right answer, and each option is likely to have risk as well as its rewards. So those are basically the steps of how to analyze the case. Let's review. First, identify the most important facts. Second, identify your key issue or problem. Number 3, specify alternative courses of action. Number 4 is evaluate each course of action. And number 5, recommend the best course of action. Let's now go to the different parts of case analysis. So there are typically 9 parts of your case study or case analysis. First one is the point of view. Second is a statement of the problem. The third is key facts surrounding the case. Fourth is your objectives. Fifth is your decision criteria or criterion. Six is your alternative courses of action. 7 is the assessment or evaluation of alternative courses of action. 8 is your conclusion. And 9 is your recommendation. So let's first go to the point of view. Ano ba yung point of view na sinasabi natin? The point of view, you get the main decision maker of the case. Who is the main decision maker of the case? Is it the president? Is it the marketing manager? Get its point of view. Meaning, get its standpoint. For example, the point of view of the case is the president because he should be the one deciding on the main problem, which is all about whether this person should be promoted or not promoted. That is the point of view. Second is identify now your problem. Kumbaga, you state your problem so that the readers of your case analysis would know what issue or issues you are solving, you are trying to solve. And then, identify your key facts surrounding the case. What are the important events? What are the important information that is stated in the case? As I've said earlier, if there is no important key facts or there is no important information, you can assume as long as is it within the whole case study. You can assume. Okay? But mas maganda kapag nandun sa case yung sinasabi mo sa key facts. Okay? And then, this fourth and fifth case would be a little bit difficult because in the fourth is state your objectives. Meaning, what as the decision maker, ano ba talaga yung objective mo? Okay? Because this will try to help you decide what is the best alternative course of action you will give later on. So, for example, objective mo is to increase market demand. So, that is your main objective. Some of your classmates, their objective may be to decrease cost. Okay? So, you have two different objectives. One is to increase market share, and the other one is to decrease cost. Okay? So, you list down your objectives so that the reader of the case analysis would know what is your objective or what are your objectives. Because dito na kayo magkakaiba ng mga classmates mo. Some of you would be focusing at the cost. Some of you would be focusing on increasing market demand or increasing sales. Okay? In your decision criteria, you list down the criteria on how to select the best alternative course of action. Dito rin kayo magkakaiba ng classmates mo. Kumbaga, ikaw is, since your objective, primarily, your objective is to increase market share. So, market leadership would be your main criteria. Okay? Kumbaga, bibigyan mo siya ng heavier weight. For example, sabihin mo na 50% is market demand. 30% lang yung cost. Pero yung classmate mo, since the primary objective that he stated is decreasing the cost, in his decision criteria, decreasing the cost receive heavier weight than market demand. Okay? Yung explanation ninyo why you choose that objective over the other objectives would explain why you choose yung particular na objective na yon. Why in the decision criteria heavier yung market demand and the other one is lesser or lesser yung nakuha niyang weight. Okay? And then the sixth is listing down of options or alternative courses of action. What are the possible solutions for the problem in the case? There are by the way, you can have as many as you want na objectives, pero at least tatlong objectives ang state mo sa case analysis mo. At least 3 objectives. Okay? And in your alternative courses of action, list down at least 3 possible solutions. Okay? And then, in the assessment of alternative courses of action, you are to evaluate each alternative course of action, meaning you list down the pros and the cons of each alternative course of action. What are the advantages of this particular course of action? What are its costs or disadvantages of this particular course of action? Each alternative course of action should have its pros and cons. In the conclusion part, you state your best alternative course of action. You explain why this alternative course of action is the best alternative course of action you choose. In your recommendations, in the recommendations part, mas maganda or it's better if you put that in action plan. An action plan, the first column would be the key results area, and then the second column would be the concrete objective. Number 3 would be the detailed activity. Number 4 would be the budget. Number 5 would be the persons involved. And number 6 column would be your timeline. in the recommendations part, these are the detailed activities for your alternative course of action. It answers the question how. How will you implement your best alternative course of action? Okay? So let's summarize your outline again. The first part is point of view. The second is a statement of the problem. The third is key facts. The fourth is your objectives. The fifth is your decision criteria or criterion. The sixth is alternative courses of action. The seventh would be assessment of alternative courses of action. 8 is your conclusion. And 9 is your recommendation. So that is how you analyze your case. So if you have any questions, again, you can message me sa Google Classroom natin so that I can answer you or your query immediately. Okay? Thank you again for listening. This is only the first part of our operations management. I hope that you understand your case analysis. Okay? Thank you and good day to all of you.